Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of To The Point podcast. Hope you guys are all doing well this weekend. And today we're having a special episode. Used to hearing from me, the first of the Warren children, but my guest today is my little sister, but also the better half of the Warren children. She's a NCAA athlete, great hockey player, and I can say personally a better person. But today I'm welcoming Talli Warren to the podcast. So Talli, thanks for joining me.
Well, thank you for having me on. It's pretty cool to be on your podcast. I'm obviously super proud of you. And when I heard you were starting this off, I was like, this is going to be great because I know everything that you do, you put 100% effort and commitment into it. And I mean, as I've been watching the last few months, it's really kicked off. So yeah, I'm excited to be on and break up my last few days of quarantine.
Yeah, no, thank you for saying that. But yeah, in your life, you've been quarantining in the States. And then you made it back to Canada. So in the last month and change, how long have you been quarantining?
So I started quarantine on February 15th. So I think it's like 34 days minus like 2 days to drive home. So yeah, I've got my fair share of quarantine in, but I'm almost there. So I'm out Saturday.
Right. No, well, yeah, it's like I was saying earlier, I think it would have been easier if I did it, not you, but good on you for getting through it.
Yeah, put a treadmill in the room and Dirk, and you'll be fine.
Exactly.
Few months.
So obviously you played in the States this year with COVID and everything and protocols and testing. Kind of give me a synopsis of your season when it just daily life and testing and kind of give everybody an update on what you went through.
Yeah, so I mean, in August, like we didn't even know if we were going to be going back to school, if we were going to have a hockey season, like what was going on. And then finally, they made a decision that we were going to do like remote learning, but at UNH. So we did half remote and half in-person classes, which was super weird, but we got used to it. And then we didn't know like what was on the horizon for our hockey schedule. We usually like on a normal year would have started in September, early September, and that never happened. So we were like, okay, are we playing? Like other leagues had determined their season. So we didn't really know. And then finally we started later November. We did a shorter season, not as many games. And we were tested 3 times a week. We did a self-swab test 3 times a week. And there was a bunch of obviously like COVID regulations, like checking in before going into the rink, before the weight room. You had to do self-assessment every morning as soon as you woke up. Like it was pretty intense. But then, we got into a routine and it became a habit. But yeah, it was definitely a really weird year, but we were just thankful that we had the opportunity to play because a lot of leagues didn't have that opportunity. So.
Right. And you had to wear masks during your games, right? How
Oh
was
yeah, I
that?
forgot to mention that.
How was that
Yeah, so
transition?
yeah, it was really weird at first. Like it was hard to breathe, see, like especially because I wear a bubble, so it was fogging all the time. Like it was a really hard transition at first, and then we ended up getting like CCM masks that like connected onto your helmet. So it was a little bit better, but it was definitely a huge adjustment.
Yeah, no, for sure. Because did the men's team have to do that as well, or just you guys?
Yeah, that's the other thing. There was a little bit of controversy because the men's team like didn't wear their masks at all, and they had a funny story because they ended up getting COVID like 2 weeks into their season, and their whole team was down and out for a month. But they didn't wear masks, and then our team was forced to wear masks. But I guess it worked out in our favor because we were COVID free until the end of the year.
Right. And for you, obviously, how would you describe your season playing wise? Just in terms of your play and the overall experience with COVID and everything.
Yeah, well, I just kind of like took it day by day. I mean, I was just thankful for the opportunity to play. I didn't really have like, I don't know, I just kind of was, took every game with a grain of salt, and didn't take it for granted because you didn't know if that was your last game of the season because of COVID. I mean, it's all up in the air. So I think it went pretty good overall, and just to have the opportunity to play was great.
Right. And, for you, for both of us, we started playing hockey very young. But for you, you didn't start playing women's hockey right away. You played with boys growing up. And, when I think of your big start, you made, Pee Wee AAA, boys checking hockey as a female. How do you think that really, do you think that was a start to your love of the game?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely made me stronger. I was, forced into that men's hockey, like the boys hockey league, just because there was no other options for, girls hockey around here. And I'm actually like really thankful I did, because it definitely made me a better player. And like, it also made me work harder, like that much harder, because I was playing against, boys that were twice my size and, a lot stronger than me. So I think it really helped my career. And it also gave me like a sense of like, some confidence, because I knew that I could, like, if I could play with the boys, then, maybe I did have like, a career in hockey, or, if I kept up with them, then maybe like, there was something more for me. So I think it really did help. And like like I said, it definitely made me tougher, because, I was going into the corners with men pretty much. The puck get dumped in. I remember looking back and I'd be like, oh shit, like that was the scariest feeling. But the boy, like, all the boys I played with were great that way, and protecting me almost. But it was definitely a good experience, and I wouldn't change it either. I'm glad I played boys hockey.
Yeah, and playing at that age with, Pee Wee, younger boys, obviously even us older ones can be immature at times. How is that for you, playing with all men, being the only female?
Yeah, I mean, at that point in my career, like that's all I was used to. There wasn't very many like even girls around home that were like in my age group that I played with. So I was used to just being like with the boys, which was, which was fine, but they definitely were immature. But yeah, like I said, like that's all I was accustomed to. So I didn't know the difference at that age. And then I think it was Pee Wee that I started like affiliating with the girls program. So like I kind of got a taste of like, the boys locker room and the girls locker room. And it was kind of nice for me, honestly, because I got like two different worlds playing, the same year of hockey. So yeah.
So before we pivot into your moving to women's hockey after Pee Wee, I should ask this off the top, but did you have any real female icon players or different people that you looked up to growing up that really inspired you to kind of get into hockey and carve the path that you've gone into today?
Yeah, so I don't have like a select few, but I just like I went, as you know, I spent many summers in PEI, like at Andrews Hockey School, and various like hockey schools like that. And I always was around like different female coaches and female hockey players that were a bit older than me, that I always wanted to strive to be. Players like Jill Saunier or Alexis Crosley, like all being in like the national team program and coaching me. And they were people that I always, kind of looked up to and, wanted to be. So yeah, I wasn't around them super early on in my career. So like, I didn't, like, as you said, like when I first started, I didn't really have a set female that I, kind of idolized. But as I got a little bit older and started going to these camps and saw female hockey players, then that's when I kind of realized that, okay, this could be something for me. Like, maybe I can play university hockey or, stuff like that. So I think definitely around that age, like 10 or 11, I started realizing that this could actually be something.
Right. So after Pee Wee, you played two years of boys checking hockey, and you decide to pivot into the female game. And like you said, in New Brunswick, still the opportunities are limited when it comes to the women's game. And so what was the selling point for you to leave and kind of let people know where you went after finishing Pee Wee?
Yeah, so that was like a huge transition point in my career, I think. I remember going to a showcase to try out for a international like East Coast selects team, it was called. And so we went up to Saco, Maine for that. And it was like the first time I was surrounded by like good female hockey players my age. Like, I mean, I affiliated with like teams around home, but it wasn't the same caliber as, where I was going to try out. And, so I was 12 years old. I didn't know a soul at the camp. Like, I tried out, and there was also scouts there. And I was like, this is crazy. Like, I'm 12 years old and there's scouts, in the stands watching us. Like, this is, what is this? Like, I had no idea. And so anyway, after the tryout, I got home and I had a few prep schools reach out to me and, asked me to come tour their school or come visit and blah, blah, blah. And I remember talking to mom and dad about it. And I was like, this is like, I can't even imagine like moving away from home right now at 12 years old. Like it just seemed like so big to me to do that. And anyway, I ended up making this East Coast selects team, and I was actually the only Canadian that made it. So it was a pretty big deal. And anyway, so the more we talked to different coaches and stuff like that, I kind of got, my sights set on playing in a prep school because these, the teams around home weren't great, and I wanted to, improve my game and whatever. So I ended up making the choice to go to the North American Hockey Academy in Vermont. And so I left in 8th grade. I was just a fresh 13, I think I was, when I left to go there. And it was a good decision. Like I wouldn't change that either. Like a lot of people, think like, oh my God, she's leaving home so early. Like she's going to lose all her friends, like blah, 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 like from home and all this stuff. But like, I wouldn't change it for the world. I mean, I grew as a player, a person. Like I matured in like 2 seconds when I got there. I mean, I was living on my own, in a dorm, and like you guys, like my whole family was 16 hours away from me in another country. Like it was, you were forced to grow up. And it definitely like, it helped me as a person, but also as a player. Like I was playing, I think I played almost 80 games that year. So it was crazy. Like I was playing with some of the best players in the country still to today. Like I think our team had like 16 out of the 20 is playing Division I ice hockey right now. So, I mean, it definitely like forced me to, grow as a player and a person. And it was a great decision. And yeah, I mean, I continued to stay away from home since I was 13. So yeah.
Right. And for those first few months of being in Vermont, how was the transition for you from going from men's to female game? What were some of the biggest hurdles for you to overcome?
I think honestly for me, like it was the speed of the game. I think that, I don't know, like I remember playing boys hockey and, they were always like on you, hitting you, they were more like obviously physical, and the women's game was a lot more fast. I mean, you had to have your head up, you had to move your feet. I mean, it's not that the women's game isn't physical, but there was a lot more hockey IQ involved as well, because they're quick and they're on you quick. And so I think that took a little bit of adjustment for me, and then that was pretty much about it though.
Right. And over the years, just living with you and obviously being your brother, I saw how you've transitioned, and I think really at this time, would you say it was at this point, Tal, that you really started to love the game? Because I think when you made that move to Vermont, for me, that was when I thought in my head, okay, Talli really loves hockey, but maybe when was that kind of the light switch went off for you?
Yeah, so that was definitely like a huge jump in like my love for the game and stuff like that. I think honestly, like my first like memory of like really wanting to play hockey and like loving the game was Adam AA. I think I tried out for the team and I didn't make it. And I remember being like distraught about it. Like I was so upset. Like I thought I was going to make it, like all this stuff. And then I went that summer I went and I played a bunch of hockey. I went to a bunch of camps in PEI. I spent the summer in PEI. Like I was 10 or 11 years old, and I sacrificed my whole summer away from my family and friends to, practice and go to different camps. And then the next year I ended up making the team. And, I think at that point I was like, okay, I think I really love hockey. And like, this is something that I want, I really want to like do for the rest of my life pretty much. Like I really, that was like a huge jump for me. And then obviously moving away from home was, another stepping stone into my love for the game.
Right. And you mentioned just the difference in men's and women's game, but also for you moving away from home. And I'm sure a lot of the women you played with in Vermont were doing the same. So do you think that the women's game is, for lack of a better word, a little bit more mature than the men's game?
Yeah, 100%. I would definitely say that. I think the women's game, especially at that age, is like a lot more skill. Like it's more skill work than, you can't throw the body on someone if they're coming down on you, as a defenseman. You have to be stick on puck. You have to, have good gap. Like I think, yeah, it's definitely it's fast. And like I said, skill and hockey IQ are two things or three things that are huge in the women's game today.
Yeah. And you spent a few years there, and I think it was around this time that you were picked to go to the Canada Games, correct? And you went to Prince George to do that. Kind of take me through and us through that experience and kind of how great that was for you.
Yeah, well, that was another part of my hockey journey, I guess, that I was so excited about. And I got called up as an underager actually to try out because my year, like I'm born in 2000, was the year that couldn't go to Canada Games. We kind of got skipped over. So I was super disappointed when I heard that we didn't even have the chance to try out to go. And then luckily I got an invite to the camp to try out, the second camp actually. And I ended up making the team, and it was such a great experience. Like it kind of felt like a mini Olympics, honestly, like, seeing all the different like sports there and representing our province. And, you got all this nice get up to wear. And it was a great experience. And being there with like some of my best friends, and still to this day, my best friends, and, the memories you make there, there's stuff that I definitely won't remember. I will remember for the rest of my life. And it was just overall a great experience. And it was so nice to have mom and dad there and, just, kind of just live in the moment. But it was a great experience.
And yeah, you've represented New Brunswick on multiple fronts. Obviously the tournaments in Moncton, you mentioned the Canada Games. What was that like for you? Kind of describe what it's like to put on the New Brunswick flag, and does it mean a little more when you're playing in those games?
Yeah, for sure. I've definitely been very fortunate to have the opportunity to play for Hockey New Brunswick quite a few times actually. But no, it's definitely a huge honor. And I mean, we play the other provinces in these tournaments in Moncton at the Atlantic Challenge Cup, and it's like, you have that sense of pride, like when you're playing against them, like you don't want to lose to PEI because, you're New Brunswick and you're better. And, it's kind of just like, it's fun, but it's also, like I said, like it is pride. And I'm very fortunate to have the opportunity to do that as well.
So you playing in Vermont, you went to Prince George, and between there, I mean, you did a lot of different tournaments. You and mom and dad were just seemed like a plane because you guys were going everywhere. But if you had to pick one place in the world that you played hockey, what's your favorite? Like of all of them, you've been to a lot of different countries at this point. Where's your favorite locale? Your favorite experience?
That's kind of a tough one. I mean, I've been to like Sweden, Germany, Prague. Like I've been to quite a few different places, luckily, and I really did like Germany. We went a few summers ago now, actually, me, mom, and dad, and it was a really nice spot. And it was just nice to like I feel like when you go to those places, like it's not just the hockey. Like you have off time and you go travel and look around and stuff like that. So I did really like Germany. I went to Sweden when I was like 10, I think. So I don't like remember it as well as Germany just because I went just a few summers ago. So yeah, I have to say Germany because at the same time we went to Prague and we, kind of just traveled a bit and it was a lot of fun. So
in between this, you came back, you went to school at St. John briefly, and then you went back and played in Rochester for your last 2 years of high school. What were some of the differences between playing in Vermont for the North American Hockey Academy and then playing in Rochester, comparing the two programs?
Yeah, so I think that for me, I really liked both experiences, but I thought both were different. For my last 2 years of high school, I knew I needed something more academically sound. So that's why I was more inclined to go to a place like Rochester, and we were going to like a real private school, and you were playing good hockey. And as in Vermont, like the schooling was kind of second to hockey. And, in grade 8, I could get away with that. But, when you're getting closer to going to university, you really got to, you got to focus on your academics more. So Rochester that way was a lot better than Naha at the time. But hockey-wise, it was about the same. Like we all played good competition and stuff like that. And Rochester, I actually met like my favorite coach and the best coach I've ever had my junior year there. And so that's something that I'll never forget. And that's something that has Rochester in a close place to my heart. But yeah, no, he was a great coach, and the whole coaching staff was great there. So I was lucky enough to, have coaches that valued me as a player, and kind of gave me the last 2 years of high school and made them good. So yeah, I like both experiences. And like I said, I met, my best friends at both places, and had, great memories of both places as well. But hockey wise, I think it was about the same. I definitely was older in Rochester. So, maybe the competition was a bit better because I was playing in an older age group. But yeah, I wouldn't say there's huge differences.
So you mentioned coaching in there, playing in so many different places, so many different teams. Over the course of your hockey career, how would you evaluate your coaching? Like, do you think you've had really good coaches, or what's your assessment of your coaching over the course of your career?
Well, I mean, like I said, like there's good and then there's bad. I mean, I've played on so many different teams and different tournaments, and it's tough to always have a good coach that I like all the time, I guess. But I've definitely had some really great ones and some really not so great ones. But I try to remember the good ones more than the bad ones. So, but I think that's a given, like, especially with someone like me that plays hockey a ton or played hockey a ton in my career. I mean, you're bound to get some coaches that you don't necessarily always love to have, but overall, I think it's been pretty good.
And for you in the men's playing women's, but specifically in the women's game, do you have a preference to have a female or a male coach?
Honestly, like I like the male figure because I feel like they're not as scared to say stuff to you. Like, if we mess up in a game or we don't play our like best, they're not gonna sit back and say, "Oh, it's okay. Like, we'll get better next time." Like they're like, "Okay, let's get your shit together. Like, you guys need to get to work on Monday." Like I think that a lot of the times, like I've had a few female coaches that get to the shit, but a lot of the time I feel like female coaches are scared to hurt your feelings, which is fine, because I probably would be the same way. Like when I'm thinking about it, like I'm kind of a people pleaser, and I kind of, I don't want, I don't know. It's weird to think about, but I think like a lot of the men coaches I've had have been more like get to the point, and you have to get better, or you have, I think that they're not as scared to, hurt anyone's feelings, or, they just want you to be better, which is a given, and which all coaches want. But I think like the women's coaches, they make some shortcuts around, getting to the point, if that makes sense.
Right. And I know you're thick skinned, but when you first had your first video session or something where you saw, a coach or, a team kind of point out something you did wrong or a teammate did something wrong. How was that adjustment, and how did you take it the first kind of time you had to face that?
Yeah, I mean, especially in college, I've been there lots. I mean, you sit in the room and your whole team's around you and you're getting shit on. But at first, like, it's like, okay, this is embarrassing. But at the same time, you're like, okay, well, like, I need to learn from it. Like, this is benefiting me as a player, right? Like, it's not, it's not like, and probably every player on the ice is going to make, like, they're going to make a mistake. So it's like, the coach is showing your mistake for other people to learn from it. It's not just you, that's kind of the way I look at it. But definitely, like you said at first, like I was, it's hard to like see yourself, mess up and get called out about it. But I have thick skin, and like I just see it as more of a learning experience than they're putting you down. But
so yeah, going through all that, and you've always been, how would you describe your style of play for everybody?
I would say that I'm a very like defensive defenseman. I'm a stay-at-home D, and I'm more of like a strong, tough defenseman. Get the puck out of, like, the puck doesn't go in our net. I like I make the smart. I think I make the smart play, and I have a good first pass. I have a pretty good hockey IQ, I think. Like, I'm definitely not the fastest skater on the ice, but I get the job done. And I think I'm also a very technical player. Like, fundamentals to me are important, and I good gap, good stick, so I think that for me, like, I'm more of a, stay at home, but also like get the job done kind of player. It's not always going to be pretty, but, the puck's getting out of our zone, I'm moving my feet, I'm making a good first pass, and trying to make the smart play, every time I have the puck on my stick.
Yeah. And, just you watch hockey all the time. I mean, being a defensive defenseman, it seems to be kind of leaving the game when it comes to its effectiveness. And forever, it was such a vital part of a team. What do you make of that? And why do you think that is, Talli?
I don't know. I mean, I think, like you said, there's such a change in the game right now. And I know for the women's game, at least, I watch more women's hockey than men's recently, but like most people and coaches, idolize the flashy end-to-end defender, and they kind of just put the defensive defender that's keeping the pucks out of their net on the back burner, which is sad, because I think, in my opinion, a good defensive defenseman is hard to find nowadays. You're only finding the Morgan Rileys or the people like that are trying to go end to end, and which is good. Like, I'm not saying that those kind of defenders aren't good in the game, but you also need that defensive defenseman as well, because if not, there's going to be a lot of goals scored on your net. So I think coaches, like, nowadays are just so focused on, the offense and who's producing the goals and the assists, which is great. I mean, that's how you're going to win a game, but you also need to win. Like, you're only going to win a game if there's no pucks in the back of your net as well. So I don't know. I think it's kind of sad to see, because especially me, like, as a defensive defenseman, I'm being undervalued as a player, which is tough, but I don't know. I don't know what the solution is, but.
So being a defensive defenseman and seeing the game change for better or for worse around you, have you had to make changes to your game or make subtle adjustments in the past, 12 months?
Yeah, for sure. Like, and like, I don't want to change my game necessarily. Like, I've played this way my whole career, and like, this is what I've, worked on. And like, I don't know, I think it's too late in my career now to completely do like a 180 and, okay, now I'm going to step on the ice and try to go end to end, because that's just not me, So yeah, I don't think I'm going to like necessarily change like completely my game, but I've definitely been trying to incorporate like, more things, like move my feet when I get the puck, like especially in the women's game, like I said before, like it's a quick game, and there's no hitting, so people are on you quick. Stick on pucks, and you got to move your feet and make the good first pass. And I've definitely been trying to get into the offense a little bit more, which is tough for me, because I'm just like, that's out of my comfort zone. But I think, like you said, like I need to if I want to be valued as a player and a defenseman.
Right. Yeah. And playing. So after we're going through your style of play, you've been at University of New Hampshire the past 3 seasons now. From your first year till current day, what are some of the things you think you've improved your game the most?
I think that my confidence for sure has improved. I remember starting my first freshman game and I was like, oh my God, I had no idea what was going on. Like I was just so overwhelmed by the speed and but I think I quickly adjusted and like my confidence definitely has gotten better. And I think also like I said, my speed and my strength has definitely improved. I've been training hard for the last 3 summers, to get stronger. And that's something that you can never stop doing. It's always going to benefit your game. So I think, like I said, like speed, strength, confidence has all improved, especially since my first year 3 years ago at UNH.
Yeah, and you mentioned like your training, and you obviously trained before, but I've seen just a change in how much you do it over the past couple summers. When did that kind of light bulb go off for you where you said, I need to do this, summer in, year in, year out, really, without taking a break to get the best at it?
Yeah, well, I think that's something that a lot of people and players don't even realize, like, especially at a younger age. Like, I didn't for sure when I was younger. Like, I didn't really think, of the long term. And I just was thinking of, okay, next week, next weekend. But to get into the NCAA and like play Division I hockey, I had to train a lot, like a shit ton. And you've seen it. But I think for me, like now that I'm playing in Division I, like the work only gets tougher. Like, you don't stop training now that you've made your goal. Like you just got to keep going, which is because the game keeps getting faster and as the years go on. But I think like I've had nutrition coaches. I train with Pro Evolution Hockey in Dieppe, like in the summer. I'm on the ice once or twice a week in the summer, but training wise, I'm training 6 times a week. I go to Dieppe every morning at 8 a.m. to train with a bunch of pro hockey players, and myself being the only girl in my group. But it's something that you need to do if you want to improve your game and just get better. So I think it's something, like I said, people put a lot like on the back burner that they don't think they really need to do. It's all the on ice stuff, but for me, it's evenly matched with the off ice training as well.
Right. And from when you mentioned going to Andrews when you were younger, and now you're going, with Derek and the guys who do it there. How's the training, the options that you have in New Brunswick? Have they gotten a lot better from when you were younger to when they are now for people like you and, even the youngsters coming up?
Yeah, 100%. When I was younger, there was like nothing. And that's why I had to go to PEI, to do different hockey camps or travel to Moncton, a few times a summer to do hockey camps there. And like, I think now there's definitely a huge difference from when I was 10 to now when I'm 20. But with the training and the opportunities for young kids, which is so great because, that's how we're going to get players out of the Maritimes to do good things with hockey. And training programs like Rick and Derek's are great. Like what they put on the last 3 or 4 years now has been like a wonderful opportunity for younger kids and players like myself and other pro hockey players or college hockey players. So I think, like I said, there's definitely been a huge jump with the opportunities in New Brunswick.
How important is nutrition? I think that's something that kind of flies under the radar, but how important is nutrition in your daily life when it comes to just healthy living and hockey?
Yeah, I think that is also another huge thing that people don't really realize. And it's something that makes a huge difference, as you know. I mean, in your lifestyle and your health and hockey training, all that kind of stuff. I was never ever focused on it like at all growing up until probably my first year at university. I really cracked down on it, just because we had a nutrition coach with us there. And like, it's definitely like, it's huge for, improving your well-being and your on ice stuff. And it's everything. I mean, even just feeling good. I mean, eating well is something that I've always, tried to incorporate into my life and to make me a better hockey player as well.
So what's the daily meals for Talli Warren on an average day?
Oh God. Some days are better than others, but so for breakfast I usually have oatmeal with like some protein powder in it, banana. And then for lunch, well, usually during the season we have practice during like from 11 to 2, so it's right during lunch. So I usually have like a late lunch, like a wrap, salad, try to get some chicken or protein in there. And then for dinner it's kind of always mixed up, but I'm like on this huge burrito bowl kick right now, so I do like chicken and peppers and lettuce and rice and salsa and all that. As you know, I made that a lot last summer for you guys, but yeah, I do that a lot, or I do like just the plain chicken and rice or stuff like that. But yeah, that's pretty much like a typical day. But as I said, some days are worse than others.
Do you allow yourself a cheat day every now and then?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say like a cheat day. Like I just allow myself to have like I'm not restricted from, a little piece of chocolate or like stuff like that. Like I feel like if you restrict yourself so much from it that when you do have it, you overindulge. So like say after a meal, I'll have a piece of chocolate, or I'll have, something sweet just to satisfy my sweet tooth, rather than like one day of the week where I eat a pizza and chocolate. And, so I think that's like something that kind of has helped me, is just like not restricting myself completely. So then when I do have it, I'm not like eating 2 chocolate bars, rather than just a couple pieces.
Right. No, great point. So yeah, when it comes looking at the big picture, when it comes to fitness, in your opinion, for everybody growing up, for even 5-6-year-old kids, do they have to play hockey the whole year, or can you play multiple sports and make it as far as you have?
I think especially like if you're saying that young, I think like as parents, you don't need to focus on, getting them so like, I don't know, like I think at that age it's already hard enough. You're just starting school, you're just starting hockey. Like you don't want to really force them into it. I think, just playing the hockey season is fine at 5, 6, 7. But then after like 7, I think you need to start if they really love the game. And like that's another part of it. Like if you don't love the game, you're not gonna your kid isn't gonna want to do it, right? Like you're not gonna want to, like you're not gonna love going to PEI for a hockey camp if they don't love the game. So I think there's kind of like a happy medium there. Like, and I think if the kid loves it and wants to really go somewhere with hockey at like 9 or 10, and you see that in them, then yeah, I think that's when you have to kind of make the transition to like a full year round, like spring hockey or, stuff like that. But I think like when you're really young, it's kind of just like easing their way into it and trying not to force anything, just because I see that a lot. I think that parents like not force, but like really put it on their kid, and then they end up not liking hockey. I mean, we've seen that like growing up. I mean, I've seen a lot of kids just fall off the rack because they don't love the game, and their parents are like kind of playing it for them. So I think that's the first step, is like seeing if they actually love the game. And then if they do, then it's not going to be a chore to go to these camps or do the extra work. So yeah.
So in the big picture for you, what are your aspirations? Obviously you're playing Division I hockey right now.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to have a career in hockey after school, or what is your big goal for you long term?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of tough because I honestly don't know like what I really want to do. I know that like for right now, playing professionally, like in the women's game is really quite shitty. I mean, you're making under minimum wage. You're barely playing any games. I mean, COVID hasn't helped that, obviously. So hopefully, like in the next few years when I graduate, that'll change. But and I know like they're making strides in the women's game, to try to get some awareness around the pay and help get some sponsors and stuff like that. But for me, like I kind of always talked about this with mom and dad and like with my friends at school and stuff, that I think for me, it'd be kind of fun to go out and play in Europe or, play professionally, overseas somewhere, because you get to travel and, you get to play hockey, kind of just for a couple of years, like after I'm done my degree, and, just kind of have a couple of years of like fun playing hockey and get to travel and work and whatever it is, and then come back and hopefully start my life. But that's something that I've always kind of like had on my radar is playing professionally in Europe or somewhere cool like that, and get the experience out of it while playing hockey and getting paid to play hockey. So yeah.
What do you make of the new league? Obviously it was a struggle this year with COVID. They had to shut down the tournament, which was unfortunate. But what do you think? Do you think one league is the best thing they can do? Because there's really two main women's leagues right now. But do you think one league with the best players is the best route for them to take?
Yeah, 100%. Like it's kind of sad for me as a player in college to see like the huge division in the two leagues right now. Like there's the PWPHA, which is like kind of an individual league, and then there's the NWHL, which has always been well, not always been around, but at least for like I think the last 5 or 6 years at least. And there's like that huge separation right now because the PWPHA wants everyone to go to one league and stop the NWHL because NWHL isn't giving isn't paying their players enough. But it's kind of putting this huge division in women's hockey because there's half on one side, half on the other. But I think, like you said, there needs to be one league, and I mean it's not going to change like overnight. You have to put in the work, and you have to get, I think honestly, like just you can get people like noticing that there's a women's league and noticing how good women's hockey is because it's so undervalued. And like I think that just because there's so much spotlight on the NHL or the NBA and stuff like that, which is a given, like they're great athletes and it's way more exciting to watch, but like that doesn't hinder the fact that the women's game is also fun to watch, and it's also like there's also good women's hockey players and women's basketball players. So I think making one league, but like what you said is the solution, but it's just going to take some time to get there and time to get some NHL teams, to sponsor and maybe help the women's league out, which would be great.
Yeah. It's a couple more questions before we wrap. Coaching. Do you see yourself ever doing that?
I've definitely like, as you know, I love kids and I love doing stuff with kids, but you always make fun of me for doing that. But no, I definitely like am not opposed to coaching. Like I love helping out kids, and I've coached a lot of camps like growing up as a teenager and stuff like that. And I could definitely see myself being a coach, like maybe I don't know, like at the college level or stuff like that, but like just maybe a prep school team or like stuff like that, just for fun. And I think also like when I actually have kids eventually, I'd love to like coach them and be involved with coaching them as well. So yeah, I'm definitely not opposed to coaching, and I love helping out and being with kids. So.
And what's your favorite goal or your favorite kind of memory on the ice? Maybe your favorite goal you've ever scored?
My favorite goal probably was my first college goal, and you were actually there.
I was there. Wow. Yes.
Yeah, that was at Providence, and you, mom and dad came up that weekend. I don't know when it was, November maybe, but yeah, it was my first collegiate goal, and it was great to have you guys there. And it was kind of funny because the night before we had like lost big time, and our coach was pissed, and and she's like, we all got ripped apart that night. And then the next day we were all fired up to go, and we're like, okay, we have to win today. Like if we don't, like this is not going to be good. Like on Monday we're going to get like shitstormed on the ice. And anyway, so I think I started off with scoring that game, which was kind of fun because it got the team, fired up, and it was my first goal. So yeah, that was probably one of my most memorable goals for sure.
Talli, thank you so much for the time today. I really enjoyed. Obviously, we haven't seen each other much in the last 8 months. So this was just fun to get to talk to you. But you got some exciting stuff with a ball hockey camp that you've set up here in Rexton. So kind of give everybody a kind of lay down what you're doing and what you're doing with the kids coming up.
Yeah, so I've had this on my mind actually for like a few summers now. I'm like, that would be so fun to, organize something just because we don't have like anything like this around home. And so when I brought the idea, I was sitting here in my day 31 of quarantine, and I was like, maybe I should actually try to bring this to life. So I asked a few people, and they were like, oh, like you should do it. So I put it on Facebook, and I was expecting to get like maybe 10 or 15 kids, like, parents like emailing me or whatever interested. And I ended up like, I have over 50 now signed up. So it's kind of crazy. Like I knew this was kind of a need, but I didn't think people would actually sign up. So yeah, I'm planning on doing like a little skill session, like the first half of the session, and then, finish with a scrimmage for the kids. So I think once the weather warms up, it'll be something fun for them to do and also keep me busy because, as you know, I'm usually on the go 24/7. So I like to keep busy, and it'll be something fun for the kids and myself.
No, yeah, I love that you're doing it because I know how much you love kids and you have a lot you can teach. So I think that's fantastic. But thank you so much for joining me today. I know you get out tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to seeing you in real life. But it was a lot of fun today, and we'll have to do it again.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you again to Talli. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. I'll be back soon. But until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and take care.